Good morning, members of the press. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to hear from three speakers today to talk about the so-called audits in the report. We'll start with Democratic Senate Minority Leader Rebecca Rios.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. We are here today before the official report of this so-called audit is made public to remind everyone of just how untrustworthy this conspiracy-driven process has been, costing taxpayers their hard-earned dollars and sowing distrust in our democratic process. Let's not forget this audit is predicated on a lie, the big lie, which was put forward by Donald Trump and given oxygen by extremists. We've seen this from the start. Not content with the multiple legitimate audits and canvasses certified there was no mass voter fraud immediately following the election, partisan Senate Republicans hired the unqualified cyber ninjas to help them perpetuate these lies and conspiracies. Over the course of the past few months, what was once meant to be a 2-month event has turned into a months-long spectacle, where auditors engaged with conspiracy theories rather than dealing with facts. They've looked for bamboo fibers and Cheeto dust ballots. They've ignored the warnings and compromised Maricopa County's voting machines and are trying to put the tab on taxpayers. They've engaged with and used in their draft report conspiracies around a missing 74,000 votes, which displayed either a complete and total misunderstanding of election data or an intent on sowing outrage over nothing. Given that we have since learned this quote audit has largely been funded by right-wing conspiracy theorists, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the latter. They've completely cut us out of any involvement in the quote audit. And most recently, Republicans in the state Senate tried to get Maricopa County routers, costing Maricopa County nearly $700 million, which plays a critical role in communities' public safety. This fake audit has consistently displayed a combination of incompetence and a total disinterest in finding the truth. Because the truth is simple and clear. Arizona's elections are safe and secure. They are now and always have been, because our elections are run by Republicans and Democrats committed to ensuring a safe process. Even in their draft report, where they admit that Biden won the election, they still hold that they can't draw any conclusions around the validity of the election. They continue to float pronouncements of fraud that risk trust in our elections and lay new ground to justify further conspiracies about our elections. And yet, after 5 months and significant resources, they still can't point to any specific moments of fraud. Why else would they have this official report go public on a Friday afternoon? And at the end of the day, this audit is a partisan game to them, designed to prop up former President Donald Trump's conspiracies. And Republicans in the state Senate and candidates for office have embraced these lies with open arms. They are forever tied to the audit, and no matter what they do this afternoon to try and prove its legitimacy or justify these actions, we know that this was nothing more than a blatant partisan exercise that has caused real and lasting damage to Arizonans and our democracy. Thank you, and with that, I will pass this on to Leader Bolding.
Thank you, Leader Rios. We're here today to speak out against on what we know and what we've always known to be a purely partisan exercise disguised as an audit to allow radical right politicians and interest groups to fundraise large sums of money and to capitalize on people's uncertainty that these politicians themselves caused. Arizonans are fed up with the chaos, with the misinformation and the general circus these candidates and members running for office and those currently in office in the Senate have created around elections. Arizonans, they want competent, sane leadership, and this audit showed just how far not only our Arizona Senate, but Republicans who are running for the Senate have fallen from their desperate attempts to cater to former President Trump. Arizonans understood what this partisan audit was all about from day one. Both Republican and Democratic officials alike have come together and spoken out about it, which makes those who've stayed silent or those who've chosen to shamelessly back this audit all the more out of touch. Early analysis from the report, expected to come out later today, shows now these candidates and the radical right members of the Senate will move the goalposts even further. They'll shift their claims about the audit results and now talk about election process. Candidates running for office have a choice. They can either remain silent or actually speak the truth and facts. We can't continue to hear this plea of desperation for former President Trump's support to confuse and mislead the public. Just look at the Republican U.S. Senate primary. For the past few months, Arizonans have been forced to watch these candidates go back and forth to announce claims that Trump actually won Arizona, to actually create a purity test to say, if you don't believe in this audit, if you don't believe that former President Trump won, you're not Republican enough. These candidates all have a choice today and every day after, to stick up for what's right or to continue to cave to what's politically expedient. They have to make that choice. Of course, what we've seen not only amongst these candidates, we've seen our governor, Doug Ducey, literally keep his head in the sand in a desperate attempt and hope that former President Trump might forget about him and stop attacking him as he's done several times. But Republicans in the governor's race, they also must stand up and say that the audit results and everything surrounding the audits is a big lie. It's endlessly disappointing to see what our politicians have come to, candidates embracing lies for the sake of one person. But now, as we await the official report to come out in just a few hours, the time for these politicians and these political calculation games must end. Now it's time for us to stand up and speak truth to power. It's time for us to continue to make sure that Arizonans know that democracy is safe here in this state. And with that, I'd like to bring up Maricopa County Supervisor Steve Gallardo.
Thank you, Leader Bolding. Thank you, Leader Rios, for coming down here this morning. Let's kind of go over a little. First of all, for the record, Maricopa County Supervisor Steve Gallardo, District 5, Southwest Maricopa County. But let's go over a little history lesson here, okay? In 2000, Maricopa County pulled off 3 elections right in the middle of a pandemic. We had to adjust our efforts, we had to make some changes, but we conducted 3 elections in 2020. First, the presidential primary, conducted it, no problems, no complaints. Went off beautifully. We had another election, the primary in August. Once again, no concerns, no complaints, went off beautifully. We had our third election in the middle of a pandemic. It was our general election. Once again, no complaints, no concerns, no inquiries. It wasn't until 3 or 4 days after the election, as many of those that were supporting President Trump at the time were not happy with the election results. They were frustrated. How can our candidate lose? It must be fraud. No other answer. There has to be some type of mischief within the elections department or outside forces that changed the results. So they started to complain. We went through 13 different lawsuits just within 6 weeks. Every one of the lawsuits were dismissed with no evidence, no founding credibility to any of their claims. We then get a subpoena. Okay. We then get a second subpoena. Okay. I then get a call from President Fan saying, Steve, I need your help. They're knocking down my door. I need a forensic audit. I said, Karen, what is a forensic audit? She goes, I don't know, but I need one. They're knocking down my door. I need something. I said, Karen, there's so many things that we got to take in consideration. One, what is a forensic audit? What are the parameters? How do we do this? Who's doing it? There's a lot of unanswered questions. All 5 supervisors received a call from Karen Fan. All 5 supervisors said, we're open to some type of review. Maricopa County then hires 2 consultants in which they wanted to hire. The state Senate wanted to hire. We hired those 2 consultants. They went through, once again, found out our elections were safe, secure, accurate. They put out 2 findings reports that reinforces what we did in November. Our elections were safe, secure, and accurate. That wasn't enough. Oh, no. We want our own review. We want to be able to disregard state law. We want to be able to have our own review. The majority of this board decided, okay, we're gonna go ahead and we are going to comply, and we're gonna go help do this review. They went ahead. What was supposed to be a 30-day review turned out to be over 100 days of just nonsense circus of consultants that had no idea what they were doing. Consultants that never have conducted such a review. They have never handled a review of a county this size. And it shows every day. The goalpost is moving every day. Problems every day, unfounded claims, conspiracies, over and over again. Now, today, we get to see the product of that review at the Coliseum. Folks, the one thing we're going to get out of this review is this. Our elections were safe, secure, and accurate, and Donald Trump lost Arizona, period. There is nothing else we can do, nothing else that any of the consultants or elections experts can do to change the minds of those folks that refuse to accept the fact that their candidate lost. This is ridiculous. It has cost the taxpayers millions of dollars. We have no idea the cost. It has undermined our democracy. It has challenged the credibility of our own hardworking elections team. Over what? One big lie? The fact that one candidate and his supporters cannot accept the fact that they lost? I'm not too sure what's going to be in this report, but I can tell you it's probably BS. We're willing and we are ready to challenge this report. If there's any type of statement that is false, inaccurate, as our chairman continues to say, be prepared to defend it in court. Folks, we're not dealing with rational people here. They don't care. They don't care about our democracy. They do not care about the credibility of our elections. They're here to try to prove over and over again that their candidate did not lose Arizona. Again, nothing else we can do to change that thought. We're not dealing with rational people. Look at what they did to one of our own colleagues on the board. The only supervisor that was willing to talk to them. The only supervisor that was willing to engage them and listen to their complaints. He thought he was speaking to them in confidence. He was giving his opinion. They recorded his conversations in March and January, only to be able to use it against him 8 months later. These are the folks we're dealing with. These are not rational people. These are not honest people. These are the folks that have taken control of the state Senate. They have pushed Karen Fan around. She has no leadership, no control of this process. She has no leadership from day one. She couldn't make a decision if she wanted to because there's outside forces that are making these decisions. This is what we're dealing with. But at the end of the day, folks, the one thing that's going to be loud and clear, our elections were safe, secure, and accurate, and Donald Trump lost Arizona. I'll turn it back over to our Senate leader for questions. I'm sorry.
Yep. Thank you so much. And we have time for a few questions. If anybody has them. 2022 races.
Go. You want to do it? Then I'll do it.
I mean, the reality is what we know is that they're setting this claim right now that somehow the election processes are not fair, they're not accurate, they're not safe. But what we know is that to all be true. What we saw this taking place in the beginning of last cycle. President Trump knew that he would lose Arizona. I believe he knew that he would lose the presidency. So he began this notion that somehow he wouldn't get a fair opportunity to actually run a race. But he did, and he lost. And I think the same thing is going to happen in 2022. You're going to have candidates, they're going to stand up and they're going to say, we can't trust election results, we can't trust what's happening, because they know that their message is not a message that Democrats, Republicans, and independents care about. We need to change the actual people who are running for office and let them know that they are so far to the radical right that is not consistent with what Arizona is asking for.
Do you think that the audit results?
I'd like to just add to the question. I think where everybody needs to keep their eye on the ball is this. This report is slated to go to the government committee later this fall. I fully expect that government committee, which is fully controlled by Republicans, will use the report to justify additional voter suppression measures and introduce them next session. Arizona led the nation in the number of bills that were introduced to suppress the vote of people. Minorities, old people, disabled people, folks on the reservation. The concern is that they will use this report to justify additional ways to suppress the vote, because at the end of the day, they lost. And they know that without suppressing the vote of Arizonans, and particularly Arizonans that don't support their values and their ideas and or lack of, that they're going to continue to lose elections.
Do you predict reemergence of the bullet bill?
I'm sorry.
Of the bullet bill, to just let the legislature decide, certify the election and let the legislature vote?
Do I anticipate a reemergence? I would anticipate a reemergence of that and every other ill-conceived idea that they tried to get through during the last session.
I had a difficult here, I guess,
Sure.
with anybody really. Given what happened, in this scenario played out in my mind, what if they did find that he won? Are you amazed by their conclusions that not only did Biden win the county, he got more votes? Are you surprised by that?
You know what? I guess I'm not really surprised. I'm embarrassed for them. At the end of the day, this was a complete partisan farce. Not only did they just confirm to us that Joe Biden won and Trump lost, they confirmed to us that Biden won by an even larger margin. I mean, this is an embarrassment for them. But at the end of the day, they have proven what has been said time and time again. Our elections were safe and they were secure. And so I would add this, based on that draft report that we've all seen, they should just stop at page 2, where they put the numbers out there, they confirm Biden won, and they confirm that Donald Trump lost by an even larger margin. I would question what the other 88 pages are even there for. I would surmise they're there to continue to sow doubt and distrust. But again, folks, keep your eye on the ball. What are the final numbers? Nothing has changed. These are the same election results that we have been touting for months on end. So again, a very expensive partisan effort that really, I think, undermines democracy.
Do you think that the audit results will end the certified movement here in Arizona?
No. No, I think you have a small and very loud group of folks that there isn't anything that we can do, their own consultants or our consultants, nothing that could be accomplished that would convince them our elections were safe, secure, and accurate. They won't. I mean, that's the fact. And to answer your question, going back to the 2022 election, yes, I think the vast majority of voters, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, have confidence in our election system. We see it in the polls every day. Look at the polls. Republicans, Democrats, Independents have confidence. You have a small group of folks that are going to continue to want to try to put a wedge, to try to convince folks that our elections are somehow fraudulent and not accurate or safe. But the fact is this, any candidate who's running for office in 2022, there's one question: where are you at on this election fraud? Come on, no more standing on the sideline, Branovich. No, Governor Ducey, no more being quiet. All these Republicans that know that the folks that are pushing the audit are just downright crazy, no more being quiet. They have to come out publicly and now tell everyone where do they stand. If you plan on being a candidate in 2022, you can bet that will be question number one by the voters of Arizona. Where are you at on this election? Are you with the conspiracies and the con artists? Or are you on the side of democracy, the Constitution, and the rule of law? That's the question that's going to be asked to every candidate.
And we'll take one more question, Ms. Gregg. I just also want to remind everybody that former President Trump called for Mark Brnovich to investigate this election this morning. So there is some outside pressure going on still. Ms. Gregg, yep, the last question.
This is for anyone. What do you guys make of the Cyber Ninjas data comparisons that found voters voted from prior addresses or had moved out of state or may have voted from two counties?
We have, yeah, we have seen, I saw the similar draft report. I would venture out to say that's not going to be the same report we see later on today. I think they continue to try to pick and choose what are going to be winning talking points for some of the Trump supporters. Nonetheless, we're prepared to defend every point, every action in that audit report. As our chairman has said over and over again, be prepared to defend this in court. Every type of findings, any type of accusation, any type of question they have had, we have been able to rebunk from day one. We've been able to correct them. The fact is, you have consultants that have no idea what they're doing. They have never done this before. They are clueless and inexperienced. That's what we're dealing with. The only thing that keeps them here doing it is the fact that they're making a lot of money doing this. This is about energizing the base and raising money. That's what this is about. This isn't about trying to find the truth. They know what the truth is. They won't accept it. It's about energizing the base, raising money, and they don't care if our democracy is put at risk. They don't care. But nonetheless, we'll have to see what the report says.
We still don't know how much it costs. Are you guys concerned about the private donors? Does it matter at this point?
You know, I think it just points once again to the illegitimacy of this audit. We know that some $5.7 million was funneled in to fund this audit from Trump's supporters. I mean, again, this is a complete farce, and I think that just continues to confirm that this is simply a partisan effort meant to pump up the ego of Trump, who lost Arizona.
All right, thank you so much, members of the press, for joining us today. That's going to be a wrap for this press conference. Thank you all so much.
Yes, sir.
Hey, great start with Arizona.
Oh, nice to meet you.
I talked to you before.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. I was hoping that a signature might
Sure. Absolutely. It's going to be a fun day. 602-540.